I painted an entire artwork using nothing but a mouse. I got the idea after discovering an artist named Lea Pinto, who creates stunning realistic works like these, all done with just a mouse. I've been following her for a while and I was amazed by what she's able to do. If she can paint like this with a mouse, surely I could learn something too. Maybe even unlock some hidden technique that gets me one step closer to touching the toes of the art gods. Most people think digital art has to be done with a pen tablet, but what if you can't afford one? Or you're just curious if mouse painting is viable? In this video, I'll go over the pros and cons of painting with a mouse, show you how to get started, and finally reveal the results of my experiment along with what I learned. Why you might or might not want to. Let's break down the pros and cons to see if this workflow could work for you. Pros. No extra cost. If you've got a computer, you're ready to go. No manual drawing skills needed. People spend hundreds of hours practicing their lines. Here you just need motor skills on par with a monkey. Forces simplicity. You're limited to geometric shapes, which stops you from overcomplicating things. Big picture focus. A mouse allows you to focus on the overall artwork rather than minute details and noodling lines. Polished, clear results. It's easy to produce shapes that are readable and forms that are defined. You don't have to go back and clean up your mess when it's clean from the start. Works great for realistic or graphic styles. This means that it's perfect for environments, props, and hard surface objects, especially anything that benefits from a rigid or geometric structure. But it's not all upside. Cons. Struggles with organic forms. Drawing curved gestural lines is really hard. Weak at subtle shading. Objects like skin or flowing fabric, which have a lot of nuance and subtle transitions, are harder to pull off. Bad at painterly style. If you like seeing brushstrokes in your art, it's impossible to achieve this with a mouse in the same way. Not ideal for characters or creatures. They often end up feeling stiff. It can be less fun. This is not a con for everyone, but for many people, there's a certain joy in moving your brush. In short, a mouse is great for rigid, man-made subjects like props and environments, but it struggles with fluid, organic subjects like people and animals. There is actually a lot of value here for the right person. If you struggle with simplifying, have weak forms, or end up with a scribbly mess every time you paint, a mouse can actually help you. Getting started, tools and techniques. So, how do you actually start painting with a mouse? You can't use it like a stylus. Trying to paint like this is just a waste of time and doesn't take advantage of a mouse's strengths. If you want to use the mouse properly, you'll need a more structured approach. In this section, I'll show you the essential techniques that make it viable. This section is going to be highly technical as I'll explain the specific practical methods that I use. If you're here just for the final artwork, feel free to skip to the last segment. I'm demoing this in Photoshop, but most of these techniques are applicable across other painting programs too. Block in. Start with big, simple shapes. A mouse excels in this part of the process. In fact, I find it much quicker to block in with a mouse rather than a stylus. You're limited to simplicity, which helps avoid unnecessary detail early on. Selections are going to be your bread and butter. I use the rectangle marquee tool to block in general volumes, adding to the selection with shift and drag. Then I refine with the polygon lasso, invert the selection, and clean the silhouette with the eraser. This helps build complex shapes quickly and accurately. Use Alpha Lock to keep your colors inside the shape you've painted. I use this when I want to paint multiple shapes on one layer. If you want to make a selection bigger or smaller, go to Select or Modify, Expand or Contract. Change the pixel value to adjust the selection. This is useful when you have repeated shapes inside of one another, like with wheels, windows, or any objects with a trim. You can shift and click a layer to select its shape and move that selection around like a stencil to cut into or add to new layers. This is an efficient way to keep a consistent shape language throughout your painting without having to redo work. To duplicate objects, Shift, Alt, and drag. This saves time and helps build out a scene efficiently. After you duplicate, merge your layers to keep a tidy layer stack. Curves and warps. Creating curved lines is tricky without a pen, but we have a few options. Outside of making ellipses, you can use the pencil. Set to shape and create a line. Switch to the curvature pen and drag the line to create smooth curves. Or use Ctrl-T, enable warp mode, and choose the arc warp to bend objects. To manipulate any curve, Ctrl-T and Ctrl and drag the object point to warp it into perspective. Light and shadow. Without pen pressure, we'll need to use gradients and the airbrush to create smooth transitions. Go to Gradient, Presets, Basic, Foreground to Transparent. This allows you to color switch on the fly and use gradients that fade out naturally. The default gradient mode is the most versatile. The circular or cylindrical gradients are also useful if you need to describe round forms. If you want to add some subtle texture in your transitions, set it to dissolve. Texture helps give life to otherwise flat shapes. Without it, materials all end up looking the same. Just be sure not to overdo it as you want to maintain areas of rest. Use textured brushes in normal mode, clip to the base layer. The shadow or light layers should be on top and set to a blending mode like multiply or screen. You can paint a flat texture, Ctrl-T to transform, and Ctrl and drag the corners to warp it into perspective. This is great for fast, realistic detailing on surfaces like brick walls or concrete roads. The next steps, adding color, details, and story elements, aren't specific to mouse painting, so you can approach them as you normally would or apply the same techniques we covered earlier. The key is learning when to use each tool and approach. With these techniques, you can paint almost anything using just a mouse. It feels less like manual drawing and more like problem solving, which has its own kind of charm. To wrap up, here's the final reveal, and what I've learned from painting this way. One thing that stands out is the simplicity of shapes. The mouse naturally limits over detailing, so your forms remain clean and readable. Mistakes in lighting or structure become obvious, which is a good thing. It allows you to identify areas that need fixing. This leads to strong readability, even when the painting is scaled down. But too much clarity can feel boring and sterile, so adding texture becomes essential. When you combine clean shapes, good lighting, and realistic textures, you get a kind of graphic realism that suits environments and props really well. Where mouse painting struggles is with expressiveness, especially with characters. The rigidity can make them feel stiff. The solution? Embrace simplicity. Focus on appealing shapes. This artist, Yun Ling, does it well, using bold forms, strong lighting, and textures to make stylized yet believable work. They have the same kind of style that a mouse excels at. In hindsight, simplifying the character and putting more detail into the environment would have improved this painting. Simplicity really is the core of the mouse workflow, so lean into it. Thanks for watching. I hope this video helped give you some idea about how to approach digital painting differently. While making this, I realized there's almost no one talking about this workflow. A lot of people don't even realize mouse painting is viable. I made this video to share that it is, and to help anyone curious to try it for themselves. After all this, I've come to the conclusion that mouse painting isn't any better or worse than using a stylus. It's just different, and for certain styles and subjects, it might be exactly what you need.